listening to the Nerdy Reads podcast, a hipster goblin media production.
Hey, what is up, friends? Welcome back to the Nerdy Reads podcast. My name is Justin, and with me is my good friend and colleague, Robert. What's up, dude?
Justin, what's going on, man? I'm happy to be back, as always, for another episode of the Nerdy Reads podcast.
That is right. And if you've been with us the last few weeks, you know we have been going through the Mayor of Noobtown. We've been kind of doing discussions chapter by chapter, but today's going to be a little bit different. We're going to talk about the last bit of the book, but we're going to kind of do an overall review of our thoughts on the Mayor of Noobtown to kind of close this one out. So without further ado, Robert, where are we at?
So, previously Jim rescued Ava and her two kids from the goblins. The population of the town grew. Jim continued to learn more about the system, and by proxy, so did we.
Sure.
And he encountered his biggest threat yet. He fought that shadow goblin. That was a pretty cool battle. And he ran into those weird sisters, which actually forced him to retreat. In a lot of these LitRpG scenarios, you don't really see the main character get beat too often. So I thought it was cool to see Jim have to actually leave. And I'm totally basing that off solo leveling. So he had to get an animal. His name was Kappa to plow the fields or something or other. And then Jim sets off for a new area to confront a goblin warlord.
That's right. And so, you know, we get to this section of the book and, you know, we get to see a little war happen, a little warlord action.
It was cool.
You know, some volleys of arrows and death of many goblins.
Shout out Keaton. He likes those big, giant, over-the-top battles.
Yes, and this definitely had that. You know, I think that is one thing, you know, I feel confident in saying that this book did really well. I think some of the fight scenes are pretty cool. Some of the abilities they use is even the description of, you know, stabbing a goblin in the back of the neck and some of the graphic details in which what happens there is actually pretty well done in this book.
Yeah, I agree with that, dude. I think some of the fight scenes, like you said, were cool. The part of the book where I thought was, and this is probably a me problem, you mentioned it last week about the bogging down of the system. There was literally like a chapter during this back chunk that we read. Like I'm amped up for the battle. Like Jim infiltrates this fortress, saves all these people, and then he becomes like a commander. And he has all these troops, and he's about like the enemies are outside the gates. They're setting it up. I'm ready to go. But there's like 3 chapters before we even get into the fight that's explaining system on top of system on top of system.
Yes.
And it pulled me out of the story so much.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. You know, I mentioned it last week. We're talking a little bit about it now. And I think we're kind of going into a review style of this book right now, which is totally fine. Because we kind of shared a lot about what the story is. There's some decent humor in this, you know. I think we mentioned this last week too, but even the name Jim and the constant, like, you know, little stabs at Jim by goblins and other characters within this world, that his name is so simple and short. Jim, that's it, Jim. And they just kind of make fun. And I think things like that, the humor in that is pretty fun. And even, you know, our boy Shart using his mana to put himself in a demon brothel.
Oh, that was good. Yeah,
basically.
I love it. Yeah.
You know, there's some good humor in this. It's there. And then the action scenes are really solid. And I even like the fact that we're fighting goblins. I think that the pacing of this sometimes feels so jarring because of the system discussion. And because a lot of times I think when you're in something like this, if you're reading LitRpG books, there's a good, very real possibility you're in a world like this, whether that's through D&D or any other tabletop role-playing game, or even just RPGs in general, or action RPG video games, whatever. You know, you probably have at least a basic understanding of systems. And I think there are times where the system can be kind of, you know, more broadly explained, and then let us fill in some of the blanks. Because sometimes, again, it does feel like an excessive amount.
Was like the battle, like they went into all the systems about him being a commander on top of all the system with his stats, which I do appreciate sometimes mid-fight when he's talking about an ability he's using. That's cool.
Yes.
But when they're out of the fights and he's going through and leveling up and he's explaining, like, I'm going to do this, it's going to enable me to do XYZ, which then I get this tree that branches off into these ways and I can do this, this, and that. It's like, dude.
Yeah.
Man. And
I was actually down. Remember when he took the ability that what was it? The one that basically helped him to endure pain better. Remember that? Mm-hmm. Then when he took that ability, he goes, man, having pain in this world has sucked, and it's all the time. So I'm going to take this, and that was the end of it.
Yeah, that's it. That's all I need.
If there was more of that, I feel like I would have engaged more in this story. I think
I agree, and like. That ability you just mentioned, like he ends up fighting the warlord breaches the gates, like cool fight scene going down. That ability saves Jim's life essentially because Jim's dead. Like they kind of kill each other in a sense, but Jim drops to, I think it was 5 or 7 HP. Like it gets pretty low, and everyone around him's like amazed he's even still alive. I understood he was still alive because of that ability. That's all I needed, man. But then you know what happened after that, Justin? You know what happened after that, bro? We got yet another chapter of a very system moment post-battle.
Yeah.
Going into his different level ups and different things he got after he killed the Goblin Warlord. And that took a while, but after all that was done, dude, this girl met him on the cliff and she let him in on like my favorite punchline of the whole book. Hey, man, small dogs in this world are called Jim. So this whole time, everybody's like, dude, why are you named after dogs?
Yeah.
They call the dogs in this world Jims.
Yes. And that's the thing, like I really do think there's some potential to this. And obviously there's more than just potential. There's several other books in this world. And so it clearly has a large fan base, that's into that. And I just think that for me personally as a reader, I like for the stories to move along a little quicker and to feel as if I'm getting because I understand systems at least to some degree. And I understand that he would want that maybe he wants us to engage in the story in a specific way, but also there were times if I'm being completely candid here, and I want to be kind about this too. I'm not trying to be rude about any of this. But there were times I just kind of zoned out. Once we start getting into some of the mechanics and the systems and stuff, I just I zoned out until it was time for the next thing. And now I did the audiobook of this. I think LitRpGs in general are fun to listen to, especially when you have a narrator, and the narrator of this one did a very good job. And even with his goblin voices were very fun, so it's it kind of brings you into the world. But even then, with those, when we started getting into system talk, I just started kind of zoning until we got into the next thing. I'm like, I understand what we're doing here. I get it. I'm ready to keep going. So anyway, that's, I guess we're making this out to be a big gripe, but that's my one gripe about this for sure.
That's my only gripe, is that the system talk was over the top. I read the book, I didn't do the audio, and when I would read, it would just be paragraph after paragraph of system. And in my brain, I'm reading it, but I'm also in my brain, I'm hearing do, 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 while I'm trying to get through all the system talk. There were things I enjoyed, though. I liked towards the end of the book, we got the lore of the barrier and how it's special that Jim has it because only kings have it. So I'm sure that's setting up some breadcrumbs in the future novels. Yeah. They also talked about that Dark Overlord, which Ava mentioned earlier in the book, which is, I guess, going to be the big bad Jim has to stop, which Sharp pretty much said as much. You kill this dude, I won't kill you. So Jim has to level up, essentially become godling power. And all in all, dude, you kind of got this happy ending to the book. Ava was reunited with her husband and their kids got their dad back. And I was like, cool, I can close this. I felt like the book ended in a way where I'm satisfied with this story being done for me. The breadcrumbs that were there weren't enough to make me want to jump into Noobtown #2.
Sure. You know, I would like to look into some of the other Noobtown stuff to see, you know, if you know, I'd be interested if you've read any of the other Noobtowns and you're listening to this right now, and you hear what we're saying right now, and you're like, hey, it's not as much that way in some of the future stories. I mean, feel free to please comment and let us know that, because I think that would be the one drawback for me. If that wasn't so much there, I'd be interested to see what happens to old Jim and Shark, you know, like what's going to happen in the future, you know, of Noobtown. And especially because I saw there was one called the Dungeon of Noobtown. So I'm like, oh, there's clearly a dungeon here. That's kind of cool. I wouldn't mind seeing what that's about, but I'm with you. I need to see that that's a thing. And just, yeah. But overall, you know, it was fine.
Yeah, it was fine. Like I'm kind of like you. I feel like if maybe this book establishes the way things work and the other books aren't as system central and they move the story forward more in meaningful ways, I'd be more interested. Somebody can let me know in the comments. But as of right now, dude, Ava got back with her dude. Jim's got a little village going on. I don't know if he's going to cure the cursed statue, but there it is.
Yep. Well, there you go. Any three final words for this one?
Final three words on this one's going to be not for me.
To listen. Not for you. There you go. I mean, yeah.
Just a deep systems heavy. It wasn't my jam. But if you like all that and you like all the stats and all the things, this one will. Like if you're that guy who plays Path of Exile 2 and you pour over your build and you're looking at all the nodes and making all the meaningful choices, you're not going on the internet finding a build and copy and pasting, Noobtown's for you.
You know what? That is a great way to sell that to somebody. If that is your thing, yeah, I agree. There you go. Mine was too many systems. So there you go. Guys, hey, overall though, I don't want to completely trash this at all. I think there were some parts of it that were great and redeeming. I don't think this was for us. So, and that's okay. If it's for you, man, more power to you. All right, guys, that's it for us. And that is it. That's the end of our coverage of the Mayor of Noobtown. Stay tuned. We got some other things we'll be covering here soon. So we'll see you guys next time.